What do you make of this?
Waldo?
Structure.
Town? Doubt?
Property.
Now, what's happening there? It's quite extraordinary. You are hearing somebody's thoughts. The words were being listened to by somebody with electrodes attached to their brain, and then the brain waves, the word was first spoken, and it was heard by the person who then thought about it, as it were, and then his brain waves were turned into speech. Very primitive speech, obviously, but potentially incredibly important. The man behind it all, Bob Knight, Professor of Psychology and Neuroscience at the University of California, Berkeley. Good morning to you, Professor Knight.
Good morning.
So these were, in this particular case, the patient was being operated on, yep, and the brain, the sensors were attached to his brain, so the words were spoken to him, and they were, as it were, I'm not going to use very technical language, obviously, but they were kind of resonating in his brain, and the computer picked up that resonance, sort of?
Yes, the electrodes on his brain, which were being placed on his brain basically for the treatment of for epilepsy surgery, these electrodes picked up the electrical signals produced by hearing the word, and the postdoctoral fellow who did the work, Brian Paisley, was able to reconstruct using computational methods the actual structure of the word, and you could hear it played back, obviously very crudely now, but this is really a first pass at this kind of work, and it's very exciting because it takes this ability to reconstruct brain activity from simple motor acts to some higher level perceptual area, in this case, the word that you heard.
So you could sort of decode the thoughts of somebody who was so badly, whose brain was so badly damaged that they couldn't speak.
Well, that's the hope, because this is the first step. Now we can decode what you heard. So I would, if I said to you soccer, I would be able to record from your brain that you heard soccer. The next step, of course, is to see whether we can decode when you voluntarily, you don't hear me say soccer, but voluntarily think soccer. If we can get to that stage, which I think we can, if we can get to that stage, then of course you could have a prosthesis, an implantable device for someone who has a devastating neurological disorder that can't speak. For instance, in your own country, Stephen Hawkins has a severe motor deficit. His brain is obviously brilliant, but he has no way to produce the sound. And if you could read his ideas, you could put it into a speech synthesizer and he could speak. Similarly, people who have aphasia, language disorders from stroke and other neurological maladies might benefit.
Is there any danger here that in the long run, and clearly we're a very, very long way away from this, that something could be done, some sort of work could be done that would enable people with malign intent to find out what we're thinking? I'm thinking of sort of Dr. Strangelove scenario here.
Well, I would never say never, but I would say that the biggest danger now is not doing this work because of the potential benefits for patients. So I think how Dr. Strangelove might use this in the future might be slightly above my pay grade. I'm going to focus on whether we can make this work for neurological patients.
Indeed. Well,
I do understand the question, though.